Well, Jesus expects fruitfulness. And in the 20 verses, if I was to summarize the first 20 verses, it would be this. In one day, in these verses, Jesus describes everyone in the world that will go to heaven. On that day, Jesus compared life to a field, people to soil, the gospel to seed, and eternal life to a crop of harvested righteousness. That's all 20 verses in one sentence. In Mark 4, 1 through 20, Jesus said, hearts that remain trampled and hardened against God, hearts that remain shallow with God, hearts that remain crowded toward God, those three hearts will never enjoy the pleasures of God forever. Watch out. Unbelievers are characterized by being hard toward God. That means that doesn't affect me. Unbelievers are characterized by being shallow toward God. They only get this deep into the things of God. They kind of know the vernacular and they say, yeah, I'm not a pagan, but that God does not penetrate their life. Unbelievers are characterized by everything crowds out God. You know what? We act like unbelievers when everything crowds out God. How's God doing in your life? Is He getting increasingly crowded out? I mean, you're kind of cutting back your exposure to Him, your feeding on Him, your worship of Him, your prayers to Him, your seeking of Him, your denying of your flesh. Are you crowding that out? Be careful, that's what unbelievers are like. Believers can act like unbelievers, but not for very long, because God won't let them. Jesus goes on to describe everyone on the planet in verse 8 and verse 20 who will be enjoying heaven forever as being good. Just as there are three types of lost, hell-bound people, the shallow, the hard, the crowded, so there are three different types of heaven-bound people. There are three levels, three categories, 3 degrees of fruitfulness. There's kind of the basic, the better, and the best. Among the good, there are the 30 times over good, and the 60 times over good, and the 100 times over good that bear fruit that lasts forever. Taken at face value, the message of this parable of the soils is clear. Of the 4 soils, only one is good. Only one produces fruit. Thus, that soil alone is of any value to Jesus, the farmer. The one good soil pictures the believer. The weedy soil and the shallow soils are pretenders. The hard soil is the absolute rejecter. So, fruit is always the ultimate test of true salvation. In the harvest, whether you were weedy or hard or shallow, it doesn't matter because they were all worthless for the harvest. That's the message Jesus is saying. Seed sown on the hard, the shallow, and the crowded soil is wasted. And as he says in Hebrews chapter 6, that ground is fit for nothing except burning. So thus, it can't picture salvation. Look at chapter 7 of the Gospel by Mark. Go over a couple pages to chapter 7. I want to show you, Jesus really enlarges on what the bad heart looks like. Starting in verse 20 of Mark 7, he says, here's what a bad heart looks like. This is how you know if you have bad soil. What comes out of a man is what defiles a man. For from within, verse 21, out of the heart of men proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, verse 22, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lewdness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, and foolishness. That's the fruit of a bad heart. As I told the junior hires, God says that a righteous person, their heroes are people that are heroes to God. I asked them, I said, who is the chief enemy of God in David's day? He was the tallest man in the world at that time. And David killed him because he was God's enemy. Let me ask you this. Would David have ever had a poster of Goliath in his room? Other than for target practice? I don't think so. Right? But yet, countless Christians have pictures of entertainers, of musicians, of media personalities whose entire lives are devoted to the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, which Paul says makes them enemies of the cross of Christ. Watch out for liking those who hate the things of God. And watch out for allowing from within, verse 21, out of our heart to proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, and murders, and all the other terrible things. That's not the product of a good heart. Well, that's fruitfulness expected.